Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to another design review about Tabular. All right, let's go into transform columns. Now, what is a virtual key? What is a virtual
A
key?
virtual key is a key that is always available when you do an operation like transform columns. So it's providing you, is like giving you direct access to extra information in a fast way.
Okay. So
for example, like this length that we propose to rename to row count, make it a little easier to understand what it is, like row number. So you will get your row
okay,
number
so
one.
wait a minute second. So how do you use this?
You have some examples here, like the Titanic dataset, for example. If you look down, you see transform columns, Titanic. Length is a total number of rows, which is fixed. Row number is an increasing integer that is telling you where you are. So you get some sort of non-local information,
So
basically.
are we going to do this with map one day? I mean, maybe we don't even need supplied. Maybe we should do, map of, if we can do this here, why can't we do this here?
We could, then we need, I mean, there's a conflict problem here that we solve in Tabular using the extended key. So if you actually have a column which is named part number, you need to fully qualify the virtual key as, and Rob can correct me if I'm wrong, should be extended key automatic, the symbol, comma, part number.
Yep, that's correct.
So
what's the case of map where I would want to use a hash part number or a hash anything other than a regular positional hash here? I don't think it can possibly work.
Well, it's more like index, yeah? Like something like map indexed for map.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, so why wouldn't we just say, hash index here?
Oh yeah, no, of course,
Right,
because
so could it mean anything else?
no, wait, but no, but the point is this: this works for transform columns because we are passing rows, and rows are always associations. Map works on arbitrary expressions.
I know, but it doesn't mean anything. Hash index
No, well, yeah,
doesn't
no,
mean
hash
anything.
index. No, it does. It has a strong implication that the input of f is an association with the key index.
Okay, how could it possibly work? How would map work in that case? You see what I'm saying?
No, maybe sorry, I don't understand your question.
What is it? Okay, so look.
What are we trying to do here? I think is the question, which is also the question
I'm trying to understand okay, so look, if I say f of hash a, and I have an association here, a goes to x, b goes to y.
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to evaluate initialization or not?
No, it's not needed. Okay.
So in the case of map, it would be a list of associations where that could be valid, right?
Okay.
Yes.
See,
but XXX doesn't need to be a list of association, can be an arbitrary thing. And then your hash index is just going to generate messages.
I feel like we need something. If we're using supplied, or if we're using, if there was some notation that was like hash index, that, I mean, this is not a good idea, probably hash index.
No. That's a disaster.
Why?
It looks very slot sequency. Much more sequency than
well, okay, fine. But I'm saying
it also happens to be legal syntax.
Right.
Yeah, all right, okay. But to have something which we can use in both cases, because I don't really like this thing where it's kind of Deus ex machina, kind of use of these things. You know, it would be much better if there was a general way of doing what we've been trying to do with supplied, which is pull something from the environment. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Then you mean then a function?
What?
Like,
no, I mean a notation that I don't know how it works in terms of functions and so on, but this idea that there is a virtual, association here is, we already, for example, for handler keys, for handlers, we have required that you specify what the handler keys are before you can index into them. Whereas here, we're implicitly saying there's a collection of handler keys which are always supplied, at least virtually.
yes.
Yes.
Okay. Which would be a nice thing to do up here as well. I mean, if we could make this syntax work, we will be happy people.
No, that
But
cannot,
I still don't understand
that cannot possibly work, right? Map can work at any level, right? We can have, whatever.
Okay, so let's assume we have a different syntax there. Okay, so let's assume we say, I don't know, @#index, for example. Let's say.
Yeah, I mean, like one syntax. It doesn't matter what. Yeah, we have a syntax.
I mean, okay, so I mean, I don't think that can work because that particular syntax can't work. But
no, but yeah, but let's not get derailed. I mean, you say let's say that we find one syntax that works and always means in every function it means like environment variables or like context dependent variables.
Right.
Yes.
Except we rejected that idea in favor of supplied.
Why?
It was I think we decided it was better to use supplied because first of all, because it is unlikely for, I mean, maybe these could make sense in every function, but it is unlikely for something to be sort of valid in all functions. So with supplied, there could be sort of a default set for the function, and you could manually specify what you're doing.
Okay, so look, maybe we could have a thing in here where we have an option called something like supplied keys, which is kind of like handler keys, which by default would say automatic, and we do a squiggleroo and we provide all of these things. But at least it gives us a way to, I just don't like the idea that we are just sort of randomly dropping in, parachuting in this sort of virtual association. And the idea that if it collides, we have a little, jump out is even more horrifying. I mean, the way we'd have to think about that is there's an association of actual keys, which comes, and this comes in front of the association. Does it come in front or behind the association of actual keys, of actual row keys?
Behind.
This comes behind. So if I want this, that if a row key will trump this, right?
Yeah, and you need to fully qualify that and say extended key automatic comma string length.
Okay. So, but conceptually, we've got two associations: the one of the rows and the one of these things, right?
Correct.
So in principle, we could have a thing called supplied keys, which has a list of these things. We could say, row count, row number. I wonder if row count is the right thing, or whether we should call it total rows or something. Row count, it worries me that it's like a counter.
If we go this way of manually specifying things, then why don't say like string goes to function or string goes to value, so you can define them on the fly as well. maybe
I'm sorry. Where are we? In what are we saying?
Like you might, in supplied keys, you might have a list of strings that we recognize, plus arbitrary strings like my value, which goes to something that you add to the stuff that is supplied. You define your custom environment for that evaluation.
Yeah,
That-
you could. But I don't know why you do that, because you could just
yeah, that
change the
sounds kind of
function.
crazy, right?
Yeah, you
Yeah,
could change
maybe
the function.
maybe is adding too many ways to do the same thing. Yeah,
That's
okay, sorry, I
too
take it back.
much. Yeah.
Right. I mean,
In my
I
normal
think,
subtle way, I just described that as crazy.
okay. Okay. So here, I mean, I just want something where there's sort of an explanation. Oh, the supplied keys are the ones that are available. Do you get what I'm saying? So it isn't just magic.
Yeah. I mean, something like
Mhm.
handler keys.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think supplied keys might be a reasonable name. I mean, we don't even necessarily have to document it yet, but we can describe them as supplied keys.
Yeah, and supplied is kind of very generic. I mean, it was taken
Yep.
by supply for a reason. So we might even recycle that in other places where handler keys might be too specific.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, length, row count, total rows. I favor total rows rather than row count. Comments?
The total has also meaning in the language, yeah?
Row total? Maybe.
No, that's even
that's
worse.
worse.
That's even worse.
I think
Yeah.
that it's slightly problematic in that total has special behavior for missing. So we do want something that's actually
Oh,
the
yeah.
limit, or do we want
let-
something
oh,
that's that adds to the confusion, the use of the word total.
All right. So what is I mean, length doesn't make sense to me because it's a length, could be the number of columns, the number of rows.
It could be
Correct.
column length.
What's that?
Column length.
What are you talking about? Column length is that would be the number of columns, probably.
No. Well, I mean, it depends on your point of view, right? But
I
the
know,
length
but
of a
column
column
length-
could be, right, the length of a column would be the number of rows.
Okay, but I wouldn't think of that.
Since we are in tabular land, we've got a definite row count, and column count. It's two-dimensional, and we should probably have a name that reflects that.
Well, is there a column count?
We can make it.
Mm-hmm.
Do the virtual columns count?
No.
No. I guess we are unanimous.
All right. Row count, if we have column count, is probably okay. First row. Why would we want these?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, they were easy to implement for me. I have first, last, and nth column and nth row for free.
I mean, if the column is sorted, it's potentially interesting, right?
Okay,
like
fair
if you
enough.
want
All right,
a
fine.
fraction.
Fine.
Yeah.
Fine.
Well, also if it's somebody crazy used it to last column as totals, might be useful as well.
All right. These seem okay to me. Okay.
Yeah, there was one issue only with Rob. Remind me, was it with the whole Tabular that it might blow up memory a bit if you use it in unoptimized code?
Yeah, and also there is the question of whether whole tabular is transposed or not.
True.
Didn't we decide that it would be? I mean, granted, that was like at least 3 months ago, so we may have changed our mind since then. But the last time we discussed this, I'm pretty sure we decided it would be transposed.
For what? For whole tabular?
Yes.
Well, the whole tabular previous, it was a completely different discussion as
Okay.
opposed to having a key, which was whole tabular. And we came up with column-wise value and column-wise thread instead.
Okay.
So
Do we need
think,
whole tabular here? Maybe we can try and do without it.
I think we can be columnized value and columnized thread. We don't really need it in transform columns.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do without it for now.
Yeah, let's do
We'll worry
without. And
about it
also,
later.
I put an example there. You can be ugly and reuse the variable.
Of course you
Yeah,
can.
if you want.
Right.
So for the time being, let's not burn it.
So does that mean we're actually going to have a supplied keys option? Just to be clear.
I was thinking of that, yes. I mean, it can be automatic, but it's the only setting. We can put it in there and set it to automatic and not even document it.
Yeah. I mean, I
Okay,
would support,
fine.
just if you want to test it, I would support like none, all, and automatic, which is what Rob probably currently has.
Yeah,
that you
none might be
provide
useful.
this.
If you've got a bunch of things that use these names and you're not going to use them for anything else, just set supplied keys to none.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Okay, so we can scroll down. This is an example. Yeah, this one here is just an example of how you might use next row and previous row. Sorry,
Well, I mean, the only
output.
problem is, what if we want the, a row? Well, I guess we can just say, how do we get the row 3 back?
Okay, this is something that we discussed a lot with Carlo and Rob as well, and this needs a bigger discussion because it goes into the windowing thing.
Yeah, I also want to know what
Yeah.
does previous row do when you're on the first row? Does it say missing?
Missing.
Does
You
it have
can
a
see
different
there.
key inside the missing? I think you should say something like missing, not unavailable, because it's really a different concept.
Yeah. No, it says missing, not available. That's the default
Should be
missing in
like
Tabular.
missing out of bounds.
Yeah, it should be out of bounds. Yeah, but yeah.
Well, why don't we say that? Out of bounds. So it is of a type of missing.
Because
I mean, it is not available right now, the type of missing that we provide. So are you saying that we should give a type, or you're saying that we should give a type that is different from the normal type?
No, I'm saying that look, the normal type of missing, which you get, well, what generates in a tabular, what generates a missing?
Well, on import, you have the first
No,
thing,
I understand.
But then when you, for example, you do I don't know, 1 plus missing by summing 2 columns in transform columns, that's generate a new missing. And in that case, we canonicalize it to missing not available.
Sorry.
Regardless of what the original.
Say that example again.
So you are doing hash A plus hash B in transform rows.
Yes.
In transform columns. Yeah. So now, if for one row A is 1 and B is missing, any type of missing, the result is canonicalized in missing not available, because that's the default missing that Tabular has. So that's that's a new missing that is generated by the operation.
Okay. I think the out of bounds should be a different missing. I think it's useful to give a different missing, and I think we should just give it.
Then let me ask Rob the question that you would like to be asked, how important this is, because I don't know how equipped we are to deal with that, and we are post freeze, and we are pressed for time.
Well, I can change that to be, but any operation you do with it will just change to a different missing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then
That's
I
fine.
guess it's fine. Okay,
let's do it. Okay, onward. Okay, what's the question here?
So the question.
Okay, same discussion, but different function around it. Now,
What the hell
in aggregate
is this?
rows.
What the hell is this?
This one.
What the hell is
Stay
this?
up. Stay up. This is only here to be rejected. This is only here to be rejected.
Well, it's being rejected. We're done.
Stay at the no. Yeah, the problem definition is a problem. There are like 3 orthogonal things that we.
But why
put
did you
forward
bring
a
this up
solution.
before we had the previous discussion? If you wanted to bring this up.
No, because this is a problem that doesn't come up in transform columns.
It comes up when
This
you
is a specialized problem that when you have groups, it comes forward. So let's start from the beginning of the section, please. Like if you don't like the stuff that is at the end.
We're not going to be able to do this right now. Version 1 is not going to have this.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, Stephen, remember when you were preparing your talk, look at that aggregate rows example with the table. You object to having to use length of some column to get the group size. You specifically called that a hack.
It is a hack.
So what do we do instead? Or
I
do
mean,
we
if it
just
is a
keep
hack we
that
can
for
live
now?
with for
No.
tuning.
Wait. Let me understand what the issue is.
Okay. Okay. Then let's
As
go
we
back to the
as we
beginning.
as we requested at the beginning.
Okay. So we have at least 3 definition of length for a subgroup that is created when you do aggregate rows. One is the number of rows in the group that has just been generated. You know, like Titanic group by class. You know, how many first class. The second one is how many non-missing elements you have in that group, which is important because a lot of aggregation functions will ignore missing. Yeah. So if you want to reproduce what mean is doing, for example, you'd need this number of rows. You don't need the structural number of rows. You need to ignore the missing. And then this is something that is also important in some operations. You might want the number of rows when at least one element is not missing across all the columns. Yeah. So what one is, the second thing I said is like for one specific column, and the second thing is across all columns. You know, is a row I can do something with, or is a row that is completely missing. So all these 3 definitions have their uses, and they sort of, you're sort of asking for the length of the group, but in in different ways. So this is the problem, that because depending on the operation, you might need to get each one of those.
You can get it with length. I think we should leave it at that for the time being.
Okay.
So this is
Well,
number one.
You can get the first one with length, and I think that is absolutely the right way to go. I mean, maybe we can invent other things, but
Yeah, and you can get the other thing with length of delete missing if you need.
Yeah, which is what I put there. Yeah, mean is mean column, and if you want to reproduce what mean is doing, you have to do total of delete missing column and length of delete missing column.
Yep.
Okay.
Fine. So we
now the only thing that is a bit complicated to get is the list of valid rows, like where at least one element is not missing. It's quite easy for a single tabular column because, as I put here in the code, you can do simply count of except missing, for example. You can even use the operator form for that. It's a lot more complicated if you have to do it on the whole tabula, because you get it in transpose form. So you have to use
why don't you transpose
that
it
function?
Then? Why don't you just transpose it?
Because transpose won't work on a list on a single association. You have to use something like probably allow heads all or something like that. But you still have to make it.
I don't understand this case. Explain this case to me again.
So this is the case where you want to know in your group how many rows have at least one element which is not missing. So they're not completely invalid.
That's a pretty specialized thing. It might be I want 3 elements that aren't missing.
Yeah, maybe specialized. Maybe specialized.
Column 1 is really special. So, I mean, it might be that we need some functionality to make that kind of question easier to answer. But we can't have hash row count and also a function row count. Sorry.
Okay.
Maybe it just needs a better name.
We're not going to have this right now. We've got lots of functionality. You can get this functionality. It may not be the most convenient. Let's come back to it again after we've got Tabular out.
Yeah, fine. And actually having the supply keys option to transform columns and not aggregate rows makes it clear that they shouldn't work in aggregate rows, which is good.
Yeah, okay, fine. Well, I mean, right. Yeah, I think it's okay. All right, onward.
Okay, we forgot something important in preparing the agenda, and I'm really sorry about it, Stephen, but the question is, should we have a column key exists queue that corresponds to key exists view for association?
Yes, I think
Yes.
so.
And one big reason to have that is we can eliminate the function column indices, which is basically the only purpose I put it to now. So
What does column indices do?
It returns the indices that match a column. So it used to be super useful, but now that we changed column keys to have that filter, it's really totally unnecessary.
Fine.
And nice. It's like the position of the various columns. We use it in typesetting, or we're thinking of using it, but we don't need it. We can work around it, of course.
I'll put it in a context, Jason, so you can still use it. But
sweet.
I think it's not something worth, at this point, it's not something worth documenting.
Column indices tells you for each key what the index is of that key.
Yes.
Yeah, who cares?
Exactly. I think with the filter to column keys, it's really is exactly who cares.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on. Okay. Okay. Look, I don't like the name pivot table to begin with. So I don't understand. Okay, what are the questions here? Pivot to columns.
No,
I don't
these
think that there are any
functions.
questions for those. I think only the name for pivot table.
Yeah. Let's say at the beginning. This is a very small one. You have already looked at pivot table. The thing is, the pivot table is something in the end might be not even a tabular at some point. So if you want to be conservative, can we call this pivot tabular?
No.
So that it just returns the tabular?
No, it's too obscure. Pivot table is already an obscure name, but it's a known name.
Yeah.
And if it might work on something other than a tabular, great. Then we've got a good name for it.
The problem is not that it might not work. The problem is that we might want to return something different than a tabular.
For what?
If
like
we have
one of these labeled array things.
Yeah, it would be much more natural to return a labeled array for this.
Well, if we have a labeled array, if a labeled array goes in, we make a labeled array come out.
Yeah, but the point is, doing a pivot operation on a tabular can make it from essentially a list of 1D thing, like a list of columns, to a 2D thing when you can map on rows and columns indistinguishably. And that is not a tabular, definitely. That is another beast. Hold
on. What you're saying is,
in general, you could make a pivot array. So it's like if you pivot on, let's say, 3 categorical columns.
Yes.
So there will be a rank 3 array that comes out.
Okay. So we should call that a pivot array.
That's what I said. Yes. Great suggestion.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, you set me up for that, Roger, just in your description, but
yes. Me? I would never do something like that.
Okay. So just so I understand, you're saying there is something that can come into pivot table that isn't a tabular, but what comes out is a tabular. Is that true or is that not true?
No, we were thinking that what comes in is tabular. It's always tabular. And what comes out right now is a tabular, but it's sort of an abused tabular in a way. I mean, it's great. You used it yourself, and it's insightful and everything, but its structure is not like the standard clean tabular.
Well, I'm afraid what we got to do, after V1 of tabular, one of the things we need to do is continue merging dataset functionality and tabular functionality. And pivot array sounds to me like it's another step in that direction. Is it not?
Yeah, I think we should do it when we have those labeled arrays. So because then the workflows are great, will be great.
Okay, so a labeled array you think will be able to merge dataset into labeled arrays along with pivot array. Is that true?
I think that there's overlap. I think array is like an array. It's not a tree like dataset.
Yeah.
So you mean it's the same in every direction, so to speak?
Yeah. Yeah, this is one type, homogeneous type.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the point of label array is that they, axes or like a different depths. They have names. They are not just integers.
Look,
Right.
I'm afraid I'm not a fan of the way this is going. I mean, the truth is, we have had tremendous mileage for decades from the fact that we have just expressions. And, the things we have that are like, okay, sparse array, I think has worked out fine. Okay. But, things which sort of where you can readily cast between one form and another, and sometimes, sparse array, if you give a list of rules where the origin, by the way, is this is something, by the way, I wanted to bring up. If I have an association does this actually work right now? If I have something which says, 1 arrow A, 2 arrow B, and I say sparse array, doesn't work. Probably should. See? And then the question
So instead
is,
of
what
having
happens?
rules, we have an association.
Yeah. And then what happens when we have -2 arrow C? See what I'm saying? I've needed that a bunch of times where, it would have been nice. I don't know whether it's an array origin.
Well, that doesn't make any sense unless you've given the length separately.
Yeah, but that's I mean, if you gave those as rules, the sparse array would support that with given length.
Right.
Does
So,
it?
Should do.
I don't think it does. I think it says that I can't use an index -2.
No, do normal of that, or yeah, and then
Well, you need to give a length. Oh,
you have to give the dimension, Stephen, and that you want.
Oh, I didn't think
That's
that. Well,
really
this is why it shouldn't work without the second argument, right? If you said what length you wanted, then then that would make sense.
But also, this is consistent.
Right. The one argument form gives you the smallest array that fits all the indices you've specified.
So -2 overwrote. That's
exactly, which is it's fine because in option and rule word, the first one wins is association word.
That's actually a question about the association stuff, since association overwrites from the
right.
But why do you like the association here? Like I give you a counter example. I think you ask a visualization team to support this syntax as XY pairs in stuff like list plot.
Yes.
This has an unfortunate effect that if I group by some class and the class is an integer, I always have to put key map to string to let all the plotting function know that one is not actually X value 1 is the name of a group. Like I don't know.
For example, right? For a while we tried using associations as options, and then we were like, no, this is right. They have different semantics. So it's not clear to me that it makes sense in this case.
Discussion. That's not for this meeting.
Yeah.
All right. I'll take.
I just want to say that I do not like all these different forms. They've got to appropriately interoperate. I mean, that is right now. If I say data set of a tabular, that always works, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. If I say tabular of a data set,
it works when it can.
Okay, and when it can't, it gives a sensible message. True?
It should.
I have not seen the message, so I can't comment.
Let's take a look then. Let's take a look. Let's take a look.
I mean, this is going to work, and I discover suddenly that it's going to work because moons is becoming an expression column, which is supported by Tabular.
Right, it's tabularizing the first two dimensions, the first two levels.
Implicit key is wrong. We have a replacement for that, but
you can probably do something which is not.
Has that been fixed? What does it say now?
well, it hasn't been fixed yet, but I believe I've put in a bug for that. I can't remember what.
Okay, but what do you want it to say?
Determined by what is the name? Is it column base name type or whatever? Carlo designed that.
I thought we came up with like unnamed column 1 or something like that, or maybe that was only for
it should be column 1, but there's a way to change the name. Yeah, exactly. I just haven't adapted that yet.
Name, something like that.
Okay, what it did here is beautiful, except why on earth is it doing decimals rather than a single decimal place in front, as everybody would do? And also, I just completely don't understand. Look at this 0.30 times 10 to the 23. This is 3.3 times 10 to the 23. What did it do?
It's probably just a formatting issue. If you make it wider, I'm guessing you'll see the 3 to the left of that.
How do I make it wider? Allowing me to resize.
Jason, you
can drag the mouse column over the divider between mass and radius.
Okay, but why doesn't it allow me to resize the whole thing? Jason, why doesn't it? Okay, that was a bug, so you need to fix it.
Yeah.
Right? Do you understand, Jason? Are you here?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I see that was cut off there.
Okay. So that's that Jason. Sorry, there's two Jasons here.
So there's Jason's here as well. Yep.
Yes,
I'm here.
Jason A. Okay. All right. Okay. Why is there no resize for the whole thing?
It's just disabled for now until I've got it so that the columns resize nicely. Because the dead space issue is worse than the having the columns not behave properly.
Right. Remember how you tried to drag it and it didn't actually show you more stuff?
Yeah. Okay.
So until we fix that, it's disabled.
Is this the final thing? Is this been made? Has this been finalized? This is not looking bad. I think this looks quite good, this dog ear. But I don't like the fact that the thing doesn't go all the way to the edge. Why doesn't it? Is that a bug?
Well, I mean, we don't know a priori what the height of the column is, of that row is.
No. I mean, the edge right there. There's a gap between the dog ear and the side of the column.
Yeah, I've got a branch which fixes that. It's just the columns have spacings.
It's just a bug. Okay, it's just a bug. It's fine.
Yeah.
Graphic design wise, do we have Jeremy here?
He said, "Be right back." I don't know if he's actually back.
On mute. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Okay. Is this what you thought these would look like?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. I'm here.
Is this what you thought these would look like, the dog ears?
It is. Yeah. I think that looks right.
Okay.
I mean, aside from the line not tucking in properly, but if that's fixed, I think it's.
Yeah, I think they look pretty good actually.
Yeah.
I like them. All right. This was a good result for turning this data set into a tabular. Now, if I turn this back to a data set, it's not bad. Okay.
Well, that's fine. Yeah, because expression didn't kill the thing.
So the key column is the one that changed. So perhaps the tabular should have had a key column set.
Yeah.
Yes, it should. And then it should go back. When it goes back to the data set, it should know to do that. So that round trip has to work, if it's at all possible. But the behavior is not horrible. Okay. Can we get that round trip to work, guys?
I'll try.
Won't we have the problem that of the key? We'd have to discard that key.
No, I mean, wait a second. This will be called column 1, right? But it would be a key column. And the idea would be if there's one key column, you bring it back as the keys in the data set.
Oh, that's what. Okay, I thought we were just missing the right. But won't we will also have the problem, and we'll then discard that as a heading.
Yes, that's right. We would have to discard that as a heading because it becomes.
What do we do if we have more than one key column?
Then we give an error message and we give up. Then we give an error message and we give up.
Oh, if we have more than, depending on what it is, if it's dimensional, we can actually make it dimensional. So it depends.
No, we just need a round trip to work, right? Because in a data set, we know there's a single. It's a association of associations, right? If it's an association of associations, it will be converted, and maybe we need to give a better name than column 1 in this conversion case, because column 1 is an arbitrary name. Am I making sense? You know what we should do? We should call it dataset key in this case. In this unique case. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yep.
And that way, if we see something called dataset key and it's a key column, we just assume that that's going to go back into the dataset key.
But the thing is, this can work for rectangular, more deeply nested data sets as well. So we may have multiple keys.
No, we won't. It won't work. Look at it. It won't work. What it's doing here is it's turning it into these, right? It's turning it into expressions. Anything more deeply nested is turned into expressions. It's not nestedly turned into a tabular.
If it's rectangular, it can be turned into a tabular.
That deeper thing, that's an element of the tabular is itself a tabular.
Well, this case, yes, because it's not rectangular. The moons are not rectangular. But if you had rectangular dimensions, it would generate multiple keys. I mean, I can't give you an example right off the bat, but there are.
So I mean, this will look like that you have extended key moons and then another implicit key with a moon name.
No, the planets is not relevant to that particular discussion. If you made something rectangular.
Okay, well, so what I'm saying is, as Giulio is saying, those will be extended key objects with an outer name there, and then you can call it dataset key. With that extended, it will be extended key moons, comma, dataset key. I'm pretty sure this can work. I'm pretty sure that just calling it dataset key whenever it is the dataset key is going to work.
Well, we could, yes, when there are more than one rectangular level, we could call it dataset key 1, dataset key 2, for example, with extended key. That would be fine.
I'm not sure that we need that number because they'll be distinguished by their extended key designations, won't they?
I'll put together an example.
Okay. You think that's not?
Yeah. I mean, we need to look at edge cases and things. But
yeah, I understand that. But okay. But I'm just trying to make sure that we can round trip. Okay. And this
we can
better than I expected.
We can incrementally be better. Yeah, we can do the initial thing that we noticed today right now, and then we can keep.
Right. I mean, the point that I'm making is, it's okay to have these different structures, like sparse array versus a list of lists and so on, so long as they interoperate properly.
Yeah.
It's useful to have multiple forms, but I worry a little bit, you know. And by the way, when how are we doing in the remote database version of Tabular? That we are getting that, right, for 14.2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we need to look at it again at all, or is it all hunky dory?
It's fine by now.
Okay. All right. So that's both a file-backed SQLite and a truly remote authenticated database.
Yeah,
correct?
I mean it's not been very complicated because it's basically a matter of translating these new functions to. Basically, we have an underlying way of describing things that both this and entities compile to, and then it goes through the same machinery.
Okay. So, for example, if I say dataset of a tabular, which is a remote tabular, what's going to happen? Is that going to be
you probably have to
go
do to memory in the middle. In the middle, you have to do to memory.
Okay. Whoa, wait a minute. Does the message that you get say something reasonable? Please check.
I don't know if it's up to me to set that up, but I will check. I haven't put any code specifically to do that.
Okay, so who thinks they might need to put code in to do that?
It's probably me eventually, but in the tabular packlet, not in the databases packlet. Right, Rob?
Yeah, I would think.
Okay. Is Stefan here? I can't remember if Stefan is coming to these meetings. If not, can somebody make sure that QA knows that they need to check all this round tripping?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Are there any other round trips that we think we need? What about a sparse array? applied to a tabular. Does that make any sense?
No.
So what does the message say?
I mean, it doesn't make less sense than applying sparse array to a full list, right?
Fine.
But I mean,
It's not a great message, but it's not a terrible message. Okay. Here's another question. As I'm looking at these things, let me just look at the input form of %9. Oof. Wow.
No, that's a long one.
Okay, let me do this. If I copy this and I paste it into an email, for example. What's that?
I'm just laughing at what you're going to see.
Oh wait, there's a cache. I don't remember this. I remember we had the discussion, but I don't remember why we had the cache. All these quantities are in this cached original expression. What was this for, Rob?
That's to keep. So if you give quantities, so quantity columns canonicalize to a uniform type. So if you had different types, it
Okay, here goes. I'm gonna take this out of my email. It's very long. Okay, here goes. Paste. Hunkadorosaurus. It worked.
yeah. Well, the import
come on.
form is not tidy, but it works.
Question. John Fultz isn't here, is he? I mean,
I am.
Okay. Is there anything that you would say about that that input form and its copy pastery? Or is this just what it is?
Well,
Yeah.
I of course, this is, assuming that the entire thing is in memory and it's willing to give up its memory contents to the input form. You're going to end up with some, with some other sorts of problems, which are, which we can't solve. We can only, make the failure not terrible.
Okay, so here's a comment about this and this behavior. Back in the day, when you tried to email a picture or something, it would just, blindly try and email the thing however many megabytes it was. And for many years now, it's been like, oh, this picture, do you want small, medium, and large version of this picture? Right? We probably need a thing like that. In other words, we need some UX that says you put a large thing on the clipboard. Do you really want to paste this into email, for example? We could use the exact same mechanism that people use for pasting pictures.
But
I think
pictures
we
are
even
lossy.
have that for pictures.
But this is not lossy.
No, so
Okay,
probably better with like analog as video, where do you want to upload this and make it available?
Yes, right. I mean, in other words, that's similar to the situation. Yes, right. I mean, that's what we're doing within a tabular. Some tabulars are stored in the notebook, some are not, right? Do we have that tab at the bottom, just like we do for video and so on?
No.
How come?
Well, we probably. Well, I mean, in the case it's not. Oh, wait a minute. Now I know what tab you're talking about. They put it in the notebook thing. We were supposed to get that. So
okay. Yes. So where is that?
We need to have it. It's just not there yet.
We're thinking for 14.3 or the next.
No, guys, come on.
Stephen, a lot of these decisions have been made super, super late.
Okay.
It's, this stuff is real development. It's, happy to get out the magic wand and wave it for the things it works for.
Okay, I understand, but isn't this just using technology we already have?
No.
Okay.
It's the interface.
Yeah, all right,
is,
okay,
you know,
but for
looks the same, but
14.3,
but the idea of figuring out, you know, how you know whether you have a complete thing in memory and how to recover it, that's different on a per,
no,
you
I
know,
got
per
it.
type
But
basis.
having a thing to say this is not stored in memory, store it now. Or this is not stored in the notebook, store it now.
I mean, we're on board with doing this in principle. It's just a matter of getting it done.
Okay, but that's not exactly the same thing. That tab there, independent of the I'm going to save the notebook, do I have all the assets, which is a different problem. Just the tab on the thing itself, isn't that the same as the tab we have on many other kinds of things?
Not necessarily in this case, because there may be some cases where we can't actually bring it into memory.
Well, I understand that, but what about the case where you can? What about the case where you just put the tab there? If you can't bring it into memory, then you say to people, I'm sorry, I can't bring this into memory yet. See what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well,
what is the case where we can get it into memory, but we don't? And I guess by memory,
Well,
we mean in the notebook?
Hold on, we're in memory, but we're not in the notebook.
well,
Anytime.
So, I mean, it starts with, was it in memory in the kernel? And so, and you know, if it was in memory in the kernel and then the type setting elided it in some way, then that's the case that we can handle most straightforwardly.
Okay, let me give you an example. Okay, let's say I say random integer 100, and then I say 1,000 here. Well, am I really going to relate that dangerously? Something like this, and I say tabular of that. Really? Why is it so slow? Okay, there we go. All right.
Right.
So clearly here, there's a thumb, there's a whatever, but this isn't in the notebook, is it? If I save this notebook and reopen, I won't get that, will I?
Correct. Probably.
So
That's
what's
probably
gonna
one of the notebook size limits.
How can we tell? I guess that's my first question.
You can do a Command-Shift-D on it and take a look whether we
Don't, Stephen.
Don't do that.
Okay, so let's see what this does if I go to it and I now go and open this again.
Well, you'd also need to like quit the kernel, right? I hope / presume as long as you still have the same kernel going,
Okay,
that it'll.
It's spinning. Okay, well now let's say that I just quit the kernel. If this goes pink, I'm not going to be a happy person.
Now what happens if?
Where is it?
Yeah, it looks like it's still there. And now the more interesting question is, if you turn that into an input cell and hit Shift Enter, will it evaluate to
You don't
itself?
need to turn it into an input cell. You can literally just Shift Enter on the output
I don't understand.
cell.
Where is this data? Is it in the notebook?
It must be in the notebook, otherwise scrolling wouldn't work.
Notebook must be enormous.
Well, scrolling is slow, right? It's spinning right now.
Presumably because it's loading all that data.
Where is it? Am I going crazy? Where did I put it?
Did you save it after you evaluated?
I think it was higher up.
Oh, there it is.
This is a mystery. Let's see how big this notebook is.
Right.
If I say file byte count of the evaluation notebook, will it work?
So this is 100,000 integers, which is not yet a megabyte.
Yeah.
So I think there is a limit there.
If you make it 10,000 rows, that'll be kernel backed,
exactly.
Notebook backed.
So the data set has the same thing.
Why is that not working, guys? Why is that not working?
I don't know who thought it would work. I didn't think it would work.
I think it should be notebook file name. I don't know why it's not happy, but it should be notebook file name.
Yeah.
Because it's not a notebook object, it's a string or a file.
This should probably work. Minor point, but this should probably
No,
it
because
should,
there's
what,
no guarantee.
what should it do? What should it do?
It's
Answer
not a
that
file.
question.
No,
Not
that's a
all
file. It
notebooks
doesn't know it's a
correspond to
file. I
files.
get it. I understand. Well, it shouldn't do what it's currently doing, which is to hang. With some
Well,
kind of dynamic warning.
That we might agree about.
Yes.
Well, in the worst case scenario, it might be, it could do, the thing which would cause it to hang, which is now pretend we saved the file in its current state. Tell me how many bytes it would be.
Okay.
Okay, now if you save, you might do. Let's try it outside before, because I'm not sure about the syntax. It should be notebook file name. And that should give a string with the current notebook file name. Yep. No, yeah, exactly. And then file byte count of that will tell you what it is. Bam, 4 megabytes.
Okay. So let's try going up to 20,000 here.
Did you save it?
What? Oh,
Okay.
what?
That's right. It's not the expression is not stored in the notebook now.
Okay,
It's going
so let
over
me
the notebook
quit
size file.
now. Splaffaroo. What the hell is that? What is that?
That's an empty tabular, right?
Okay,
it
that's
doesn't
not the
have
right
data.
behavior. That's not the right behavior. It's not the right behavior. Sorry.
Right. Yes,
The
yes, I
behavior
agree. It should have a cached view, which you can't interact with, basically.
Exactly. That's the behavior we wanted.
Okay, but at the very least in this case, I mean, this is a bug, what I'm seeing here. At the very
Right.
least in this case.
Stephen, that's what I just spent
Okay, all
15
right.
seconds saying. Thank you for repeating me.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. All right, but we have a roadmap here, which hopefully will get some up for 14.2, where we have, just like other things like this, where we would have a, where it would go pink or something when the data is not there. We have that option to save it to a cloud object, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Sorry, I don't know what you mean about pink.
Well, I mean, other things.
There's
just
nothing
go
we're
pink.
planning to pink here.
Okay, I understand that, but other things do pink when they don't have their data.
Yeah, but we eliminated the pinking pretty early on.
Okay, fine. Okay, all right. Okay, nobody's
Right.
embarrassed. It's not pinking. Okay,
Right.
so
Right.
but
I mean, normally, right. The normal behavior is we have a thing which says data not in notebook, stores now. Now, if you then try to use it, it might pink a little and say, this, I have
Well,
insufficient
right.
information to do anything
it
here.
this should do whatever other things do in that situation.
Right. I think we're all agreed on that.
Okay, all right, fine. Okay, anything else for this meeting?
So let me just go back to your suggestion that when you paste something in the email, that we can at that point try to somehow intercept that. And no, it's too late at that point.
Okay.
You're in the email application.
I
Any decisions you wanted to make, you had to have made when you did the copy. I mean, we could choose, for example, not to copy a plain text version onto the clipboard. That's a choice we can make at copy time. It's not a choice we've ever made before. We've kind of we give the user the foot gun and say, you're welcome to use it if you wish.
Okay, so I think we should be protecting users at this point. I think that putting plain text onto the clipboard that is above, I don't know, 5 megabytes or something is pretty silly.
I disagree.
Okay.
You have done this. I have done this. I've seen other people do this because they wanted to. I agree that sometimes it ends badly, but sometimes power users do this because that's what they expected.
So then here's what I think we should do. Above 5 megabytes, we should put up a dialog saying, do you want the whole thing? If you're a power user, you say yes. Or do you want some kind of thing where you're pushing it to the cloud and then using it?
Now, here's the other problem. Mm-hmm. A lot of times when you copy and paste something giant, your intention is only to copy and paste it within the product. And when you do that, it's like the dialogue is asking you about something you didn't care about.
I get it. I get it.
And it's what you're asking for between the UX complexities and the technical, constraints. It's not so easy to figure out a way that isn't
understand.
annoying as hell.
I understand. I understand. Could it do it if you change focus? Just like when you're quitting, it gives that thing. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Quitting is an unusual circumstance. I don't know
This
if
is
we can find a good.
Let's take this discussion somewhere else. But I think this is an important discussion. Maybe we can have it in user assistance.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? I think we're going to another live stream right now. If I remember correctly. Why is this? Oh, we're not. It's later. That's really weird. But that's supposed to be. It's about hypergraphs. So I don't understand why that's not live streamed. So, okay.
Yeah, you got some bonus time.
I do.
Oh, unheard of.
Yeah, unheard of. Okay, anything else we need to go over here? Nope. Okay, well, let's head for a great release here of all this stuff. Is this kind of the end of our reviews of Tabular so far as we know for 14.2?
I think we want one more.
Okay. Have we looked at all the visualization stuff that we need to look at?
Yes. Yes,
Can I look at that? I wouldn't mind testing out some of the database stuff at some point.
Okay.
All right. Good work. See you all soon.